Hi, in this video, I'm going to introduce you to vectors and data frames in R. This should be a short video on how you can create and work with these two very important objects. So the main two topics in this video are creating vectors in R and then creating data frames in R. Vector is a series of numbers or characters stored as the same object. The way we create a vector in R is simply by using the C function. Right? So let's go into R Studio and then create some vectors. So I'm going to start by creating a brand new script, file, new file, R script. And I'm going to start by creating a vector. And again, the built-in function I'm going to use is a C function. So C parentheses. And then I'm going to write in just the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. When I run this line by pressing Control and Enter, see on the console here, the output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is a vector of values for 1 through 5. Let me store that into I'll call it vector vec1. Okay. And I'll put C. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then I can output vector 1. You see it's 1 through 5. I can use the class function and see what type of object this is. This is a numeric. So this is a numeric vector. One caveat with vectors is that all the elements inside a vector have to be the same data type. So for example, let's say I were to create vec1 again, but instead of numeric, I have a string. Let's say one string. So 1, 2, and I put 3 here. Okay. What happens is R is going to treat the numerical values 1, 2, and 4, and 5 as a string as well. It's going to coerce it into a string. Okay, so then I run vec1, you see there's quotes around 1, 2, 4, and 5. Okay, if you run class vec1, you see now it's a character. Okay, so it'll force every single element inside a vector to be the same data type. Okay, so if you want to be all numeric, they're all going to be all numeric, they're all going to be all character, etc. Right? They're all going to be the same data type. Okay, so let's create a vector of 5 countries and assign it to country. Okay, so I'm gonna call this vector country, and I'm gonna assign 5 countries to it. Let's put Brazil, and then China, India, and then let's do Pakistan. Let's do a European country, Switzerland, and then let's put USA. So we have 6 countries here, right? So I'm gonna output country. I could also just highlight country and then press Control Enter. You'll get the same result. So I have 6 countries. Okay, so this is a vector of characters. Okay, so now I'm going to create. Let's say I'm going to create another vector of life expectancies for each one of these countries. So it has to be in the same order as the countries because I'm going to combine these together to make a data frame later on. I'm going to call this life EX or store for expected life expectancy. Okay, and then I'm going to list out the 6 values here. Okay, so I'm going to pause it really quickly here. I'm going to look up the population value for all 6 of these very quickly and then input the values. Okay, I've looked up the life expectancy of each one of these countries. So I'm going to write these in now. So for Brazil, it's 76 based on 2019, 2018 values. For China, it's 77. India, 69. So I'm going to separate the values with the comma. Pakistan is 67 years. Switzerland is 84 years. USA is 79 years. Okay, so those are my 6 values. Let's Control Enter. So now I have two different vectors, right? One country and one life expectancy. Country is a character type vector, and then life expectancy is a numeric type vector, right? So I have two different ones. So as I said, really the key thing here is that you can't combine the character in numeric into a single vector, okay? So if you try to do that, it'll coerce it into a single type. R will typically automatically coerce it into a character type if you have any one of the elements being character, okay? If I want to access a single, directly a single element of a vector, we simply use a square bracket. So for example, if I do country bracket 2, that means I'm asking the second element of this vector, so it should output China, so Control Enter. If I do life EX, let's say 5, then it's accessing the fifth element, so 84, okay, in that life expectancy vector, okay. Another side useful function, built-in function you can use is the sequence or sec function, okay. So this creates a sequence of numbers from 0 to 100, increments of with an interval of 5, okay. So I'm going to Control Enter that. So now you have a vector starting at 0, ending at 100, in increments of 5. So 0, 5, 10, 15, etc. Okay, so this might come in handy. If I want to just a sequence of incrementing integer values, I could simply do 1, 10, for example. Okay, it's just a vector of values from 1 through 10. Okay, I could put a C around this. It's optional. Okay, but it'll do the same thing. Okay. Now let's combine these two vectors, the country and life expectancy, into a single data frame. Okay. And in a data frame, data frame could contain multiple data types, right? Because each column or each vector in a data frame could have different data types, right? So I could have a column called country. It's going to be a character data type. I could have a column in the data frame called life expectancy. It's going to be a numeric data type. Okay. The built-in function I'm going to use is the data.frame. Okay. So let's call this data frame country life EX and the data.frame. And then I'm going to input the columns that I want in this data frame. So the first column I want is the country. And then the second column I want is a life expectancy. Okay. I Control Enter, and I can take a look at what this vector looks like. So then I have this vector now with two columns. First column telling you the country, and the second column telling you the life expectancy. One caveat here, again, these two vectors could be a different length, okay? What R will do is it'll revert to the longer vector, and it'll autofill the missing values of some of the other vectors. There aren't enough values. It'll just replace those with an NA value, okay? So just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's add a third variable here, okay? There's multiple ways to add another variable or another column or another vector to this data frame. I think the easiest method is simply using the dollar symbol, okay? So I can just do country, life, EX, and then I'm gonna put a dollar symbol, and there's some help here telling you can select one of the existing columns. If I want a brand new column, I can just simply type it in. So I want a column that has a population of these countries. Then I'm going to type out population. And the 6 values here, again, I'm going to create a vector here with the C function. Okay. The population in these 6 countries. Okay. So I'm going to put a note here. Population is in hundreds and thousands. Okay. So for example, 1 million will be represented as 1,000 in this data frame, right? So 1,000,000 is a million, right? If I have 2.5 million, I have 2,500, 100,000, right? Okay. So Brazil, for example, has a population of 211 million, okay, in hundreds of thousands. Okay, so this should say, yeah, it's so if I want to do, so Brazil is 211 million. So I'm going to multiply that by 1,000, okay, to get 211,000 basically. So the reason I want to do that is some of the smaller countries have a small population. So you might, it's the easiest way is probably just do millions, but some countries may have very small population. You're going to be working with small decimals. So let's just keep it at the thousands place, okay? So then Brazil will be 211 million. So it's actually 211 and 3 more zeros. Okay. China is 1.397 billion. So it's 1397, and then you have 3 more zeros, right, to account for thousands. And then India is 1.366 billion, so 1366123. Pakistan is 216 million. Okay, so it's 216. 3 zeros after that. And then Switzerland is 8.5 million, so it's just 8,500,000. Okay, and the USA, at least in 2018, it was 328 million, so it's 328,000, right? Hundreds of thousands, right? So that's how many, that's the population. The entire population of USA at the end of 2018, I believe, was around 220 million people. So that is 328,000 thousands, right? Okay. So let's run that line. Now let's relook at country life expectancy. And then now you have the population column as well inside this data frame. And so we have a data frame, right? Let's say I want to add a few more records here. I want to add 2 more countries, okay? So how can you add this to an existing data frame? It's very simple. Let's remake some of those vectors I made earlier. Since the country life expectancy already has these 6 countries, I can rewrite this country variable with something new. So let's add 2 more countries. Let's add South Korea. And then let's add Mexico. Oops, I misspelled Mexico here. Okay, and then their population, let's do life expectancy. Okay. Oh, one thing to note, you need to use these variables, country life expectancy, because later on when you try to add it onto this existing data frame, because this data frame has these 3 columns, country, life expectancy, and population, you have to match it exactly. It's case sensitive. Okay, so we're going to use those 3 column names as well. Life expectancy for Korea is about 83 years old at the end of 2018. And then for Mexico, it's about 75 years old at the end of 2018. Let's add in the 3rd column is population. So let's add the population. So the population for Korea at the end of 2019 was 51.74 million. So it's 51,710. For Mexico, it's about 127 million, so it's 127,600. Okay, so then what I'm gonna do next is create another data frame with just these 2 additional countries, and then I'm gonna bind them to the bigger, the first data frame we made. Okay, so let's call this country life expectancy. I don't know, add, or add. Let's do data.frame. That's our built-in function. Country, life expectancy, and then population. Then I can highlight country life expectancy add, and I have those 2 rows. Okay. Now, how do I combine these 2 data frames into one? It's very simple. I'm going to use the rbind command. So rbind. Country life expectancy, comma, country life expectancy add. And because both of them have the same column names, when I bind this together, oops, I guess I made a mistake somewhere here. So they should work, but I think oh yeah, here it is. Right, I don't have a P here, right, originally. So it should be life expectancy without the P. It should be this. And if I bind it, this is what it looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna save this as life expectancy all, and then it would simply be just cut this and paste it here. Rbind of those 2 data frames. Okay, and then country life all. I have my not add. I want to look at the whole thing, combine them. I have my 8 countries in my data frame. Okay, so this was a short video on how to create and use vectors and data frames. Hopefully this is helpful, and thanks for watching. Take care, bye.